There is a reason why, for some women, men seem willing to move heaven and earth, while for others, they won't lift a finger. Think about it for a second. We know that woman, the one who gets the call, not the text at 2 a.m., the woman for whom plans are canceled, who makes someone cross the city in the middle of traffic, who inspires elaborate excuses, the woman who is not asked, "Are you free?" but is told, "I want to see you. When can you?" And then there's the other side of the coin. Maybe it sounds familiar to you. The feeling of seeing the blue double check but no reply for hours. The expert in vague plans, in "we'll see," in being the backup option on someone's schedule. The one who gives 110% of her energy, her time, her affection, only to feel like a piece of furniture in a man's life. Comfortable, useful, but ultimately replaceable. What the hell makes one different from the other? You've been sold a lie over and over again. They told you the difference is beauty, that you have to be prettier, have the perfect body, the magazine cover smile. But then you look around and see absolutely stunning women being treated as if they were invisible. So no, it's not beauty. Then is it intelligence? Being more cultured? More interesting? Not that either. There are brilliant women with conversations that could change the world who still end the night feeling empty, as if their mind were an obstacle and not an aphrodisiac. Is it about being a good person, accommodating, sweet, the one who never causes problems? This is the most dangerous lie of all, because I assure you, being a man's doormat is the fastest way for him to wipe his feet and keep walking. So if it's not beauty, nor intelligence, nor kindness, what is the secret ingredient? What is that invisible force that raises one woman to the pedestal of absolute priority and throws another into the mud of indifference? The answer is one of the most powerful and least known forces in the psychology of attraction. It's not something you're born with. It's not something you can buy. It's something you build. It's called emotional status. What exactly is it? Imagine that relationships are an art gallery. Some people are like a poster sold in the gift shop. Nice, cheap, easy to get, anyone can have it. Others are the masterpiece. The unique piece displayed at the center of the room, behind a velvet rope, not for sale. It is a privilege to admire it. It generates desire, respect, even obsession. It isn't owned, it is experienced. It is a luxury. The question this video is going to answer is not how to be prettier or nicer. The question we are going to dismantle today is much deeper, much more transformative. How do you stop being the gift shop poster and become the masterpiece? Are you ready to discover it? Because I warn you, once you understand this, you will never be able to see relationships or yourself the same way again. You're probably thinking, emotional status sounds like a term pulled from an airport self-help book, one of those empty phrases that promises a lot but delivers nothing. But I ask you to stay with me, because this is not a pretty phrase. It's an operating system, an invisible code that governs the dynamics of human desire. And once you understand it, it gives you the power to completely rewrite the rules of the game in your favor. This topic is more crucial now than ever. We live in the age of swiping, of ghosting, of fragmented attention. Relationships have turned into a gigantic human catalog where we are all, in theory, replaceable. The abundance of options has created a terrifying paradox. In a world with more ways to connect than ever before, we feel more disconnected and disposable than ever. Being treated as an option is not just a feeling. It has become the norm. It is the result of a system that prioritizes quantity over quality, instant gratification over deep connection. And in this chaos, in this digital meat market, most people make a fatal mistake. They try to win the game by playing faster, being more visible, shouting louder. They lower their prices, offer 2-for-1 deals with their time and affection, thinking that constant availability will make them more attractive. They believe that, to stand out in the catalog, they have to be the easiest, most convenient option. And by doing so, without realizing it, they are devaluing themselves in real time. They are cementing their status as an option. This is where the concept of luxury comes in. Luxury does not shout, it whispers. Luxury does not chase, it attracts. A luxury brand does not compete on price. It competes on value, on story, on exclusivity. An emotional status is precisely that, the deliberate construction of your own intrinsic value, regardless of what happens in the outside market. It means stopping playing their game so that they desperately want to play yours. The promise I make you, if you stay until the end of this video, is simple but devastating. You won't get a list of flirting tricks or lines to make a man fall in love. That's playing on the surface. We're going to dive deep into the depths of male psychology, and more importantly, into your own. You are going to discover why self-perception is a magnet more powerful than any physical attribute. You are going to understand how your own insecurities are sabotaging your power of attraction without you even noticing. And I am going to give you, one by one, the 9 master keys that open the door to a new way of relating, where you are not the one waiting for the call, but the reason the phone exists in the first place. So let's begin this journey. Let's analyze a man's mind when he feels attracted to a woman. Let's put a microscope on his most primal instincts, the ones he himself doesn't even understand. What happens in his brain when he meets a woman who does not need his validation, who operates from a place of wholeness and not from lack? The conflict is about to begin, and its origin is much older and more biological than you might imagine. To understand why a man treats you like an option, first we have to accept an uncomfortable truth about his mind. On a primitive, instinctive level, the male brain is a lazy and incredibly efficient hunter of value. I don't say this as an insult, but as a diagnosis. It's a survival mechanism perfected over hundreds of thousands of years. Its function is simple: obtain the maximum result with the minimum possible energy. And this instinct doesn't switch off when he opens a dating app or sits across from you at a bar. Imagine a hunter in the savannah has 2 possible preys. One is wounded, easy, practically served to him on a silver platter. The other is agile, challenging, requiring strategy, effort, and skill to be captured. We might think the hunter would choose the easy prey to save energy, and he would, if his only goal were to eat. But human attraction doesn't work like that. In the complex ritual of courtship, the capture doesn't just provide emotional sustenance, it provides something much more addictive: validation. The most valuable trophy is not the one lying on the ground, but the one with a story of conquest behind it. The effort invested to achieve something exponentially multiplies its perceived value once it is obtained. In psychology, this is called the justification of effort. Now let's translate this into the language of relationships. From the very first hello, he has, completely subconsciously, placed you in his own personal market of value. He isn't thinking about stock shares, of course, but he is making a rapid, constant calculation of your perceived value. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you don't do and don't say becomes an indicator that makes your stock go up or down in his mind. He isn't conscious of this process. He simply feels the result. More or less attraction, more or less desire to invest in you. And here is where the central conflict is born, the fork in the road that defines your destiny in his perception. From the very beginning, without realizing it, you choose one of 2 strategies. The first is the strategy of devaluation. It is the most traveled road, dictated by insecurity. It consists of trying to prove your worth actively. You send him the first message. You reply to his Instagram stories in seconds. You laugh at all his jokes, even the bad ones. You tell him your whole life, your fears, and your dreams on the first date, as if you were in a job interview for the position of girlfriend. You cancel your own plans if he proposes something last minute. Basically, you hand him a complete dossier with all the reasons why he should choose you, putting yourself on sale with a neon sign blinking. Pick me. I'm the best option, and I'm always available. You are flooding the market with your actions, and as any economist knows, when supply massively exceeds demand, value collapses. The second is the strategy of the exclusive asset, the path of luxury, confidence. This strategy is not based on proving, but on being. You don't seek his validation because you already have your own. You don't hand him everything on a platter because you understand that mystery and discovery are the most powerful aphrodisiacs. Your life is already rich and interesting without him, so he is not the center of your universe, but a potential guest in a world that already runs perfectly. You are not on sale. In fact, you're not for sale at all. You are a private collection piece. And if he wants the privilege of access, he will have to prove he is a worthy investor. He will have to make an effort. He will have to hunt. The conflict, therefore, is a silent war between his hunter instincts and the signals of value you emit. He is programmed to desire what poses a challenge. So why, if this is so obvious, do the vast majority of women fall headfirst into the first trap? Constant devaluation. The answer is deeper and more twisted, and it hides in a myth we've been told since childhood about what it means to be a good woman. And dismantling that myth is the next step. So why? Why, knowing that challenge and perceived value are the engines of desire, do we fall into the trap of devaluation? The answer, my friend, is because we've been programmed that way. We've been indoctrinated with one of the most toxic and persistent myths in our culture, the great myth of the nice woman. This myth is poison served in a golden cup. It whispers in your ear that to be loved, to be chosen, you must be easy, convenient, low maintenance, a girl who flows, who doesn't demand, who doesn't confront, a girl who smiles, nods, and puts others' needs above her own, not as an act of generosity, but as a survival strategy. We've been sold the idea that being a challenge is being a witch, that having standards is being demanding, and that having a life of your own is being selfish. Let's bring this myth to life. Let's think about Anna, the protagonist of our silent story. Anna meets a man who fascinates her, and from minute one she switches on nice mode. He mentions that he likes alternative rock, and she, who actually prefers pop, suddenly becomes an expert on Radiohead. He says he hates drama, and she swallows her anger when he cancels a date last minute, replying only with, "Don't worry, I completely understand." She learns not to talk about her professional achievements so as not to intimidate him. She says, "Whatever you want," when he asks where to have dinner. Anna truly believes she is building a paradise of comfort and peace for him. She believes she is proving she's the perfect woman, the one who won't give him any problems. At first, for him, Anna's attitude is convenient, low friction, easy. But then, something strange begins to happen in his mind. After a few weeks, Anna's predictability becomes boring. Her constant availability starts to feel less like a gift and more like a lack of options on her part. Her absence of her own opinions, which at first seemed refreshing, now feels like a lack of substance. Without being able to articulate it, he starts to feel he's not with a person. He's with an echo, with a mirror that only reflects what he wants to see, and a dangerous question begins to form in his subconscious. If she is willing to give up everything she is for me, how much is what she is really worth? Here is where the myth reveals itself as a deadly trap. Attraction cannot survive in the vacuum of respect, and a man cannot respect a woman who does not seem to respect herself. He cannot deeply desire someone he perceives as an emotional doormat. He doesn't hate her. He doesn't think she's a bad person. In fact, he probably thinks she's really nice. But nice is the kiss of death for desire. Nice is the word you use to describe a friend's cousin. It's not the word you use for the woman who keeps you up at night. But Anna's story doesn't end there. What happened next is even more revealing and shows the brutal irony of this behavior. When she feels him pulling away, his messages getting colder, what does Anna do? She panics. And in her panic, she turns to the only tool she knows. She becomes even nicer, even more available. She offers to cook him dinner. She buys him tickets to his favorite team's game. She sends long paragraphs explaining how incredible he is. She doubles down on the very strategy causing the problem, desperately hoping this time it will work. And of course, the only thing she achieves is accelerating the end. What she interprets as acts of love, he perceives as acts of desperation. Each attempt to get closer is another nail in the coffin of attraction. Anna is trapped in a cage she built herself, believing it was a palace. And the only way to escape that cage, to break the bars of the nice woman myth, is through a revelation so brutally honest that it changes everything. This is where the game completely breaks. Anna is at the bottom of the well. She is exhausted, confused. She feels she has given everything she had, that she has been the most understanding, sweet, and generous woman on the planet. And in return, She has received a silence that hurts more than any insult. She asks herself, what else could I have done? What was I missing? Where did I fail? Her self-esteem is on the floor, convinced the problem is her, that she simply is not enough. And it is here, at this point of maximum darkness, of absolute surrender, that everything changes. Here is where the matrix reveals itself, and you can finally see the strings that move the system. Because the truth, the only truth that matters, the revelation that can free you from this cage forever, is this. A man will not treat you as a priority until you treat yourself as a luxury. Let me repeat it, so every word burns itself into your mind. He will not give you a value you are not already giving yourself. All this time, you've been looking in the wrong direction. You've been trying to change his perception of you. You've been studying his reactions, analyzing his messages, adapting yourself to his tastes. You've been playing a chess game on the wrong board, moving your pieces to impress him, the opponent. But he was never the opponent, and this was never his game. He is a mirror, nothing more and nothing less. A mirror that reflects with brutal precision the way you treat yourself. If you treat yourself like a last-minute option, he will reflect you as a last-minute option. If you treat yourself as someone whose time and energy are cheap, he will reflect you as something cheap. If you treat yourself as though you need his approval to feel complete, he will reflect you as someone incomplete. He doesn't create the image, he only returns it. You've been trying to decorate the cage, painting the bars in pretty colors, hoping he'll like the decoration so much he'll decide to open the door. But he never had the key. The key has always been in your pocket. Luxury does not ask permission to be valuable. Its value is inherent. It does not negotiate its price. It does not launch marketing campaigns begging to be bought. It simply is. And its very existence creates desire. Your mistake, Anna's mistake, the mistake of millions of women, has been to hand a man a blank check signed with your name and beg him to please write a high number on it. The woman who operates from luxury status comes into the interaction with the check already filled in. The value has been set by her. It is an equal-to-equal transaction, or it is no transaction at all. Imagine Anna, at her lowest point, finally understands this. What would she do? She would not write him one last dramatic message. She would not send him a meme to get his attention. She would do something much more powerful. She would do nothing. She would stop. She would stop rowing. She would drop the oars and let the current carry her, not as an act of defeat, but as the first act of a personal revolution. She would stop checking her phone. She would stop thinking about what he might be doing. And for the first time in a long time, she would ask herself, and what do I want to do? This is the turning point. The moment when energy stops flowing outward in a desperate attempt to receive validation and begins to flow back inward, to rebuild from the foundations. The game has just exploded. The rules you knew no longer exist. The revelation has left you standing in the ruins of everything you thought you knew. And now a question floats in the air, loaded with a mix of fear and hope. Okay, I get it. The power is mine. But what do I do now? How do I start treating myself like a luxury? What are the practical steps to dismantle the old programming and build this new emotional status? This is where we move from theory to practice, from revelation to revolution. Because treating yourself like a luxury is not a vague feeling. It is a set of behaviors and mindsets. It is a discipline. And now I am going to give you the 9 master keys that compose it. I suggest you take notes, not on paper, but in your mind, because this is not a list of tips. This is your new operating system. Key number 1, the architecture of scarcity. The most basic economic principle in the world is that scarcity creates value. What is rare is desired. This does not mean you have to act mysterious or lie about your plans. It means you must have a life, a real, rich, vibrant life that does not revolve around him. What to do? Fill your calendar with things you are passionate about. Your hobbies, your friends, your courses, your work, your alone time. When he proposes a plan, you will have to actually check your calendar to see if you can. What not to do? Sit around waiting for his message, and when it arrives, drop everything to run to him. Your time is your most precious asset. Do not liquidate it. Key number 2. Your emotional terms and conditions. Any luxury product or service has clear terms and conditions. You do too. This is not a list of demands you read to him on the first date. They are your internal non-negotiables. Respect, honesty, punctuality, consistency between words and actions. What to do? When someone violates one of your terms, for example, disrespects you, you must be able to calmly point it out and set a boundary, or, if it's serious, walk away. What not to do? Let things slide out of fear of conflict, hoping he will magically change. By not setting boundaries, you teach others that you have none. Key number 3. Be the sun, not the planet. A planet revolves around a sun, depending on it for light and warmth. A sun generates its own energy. For too long, you've acted like a planet. What to do? Become the source of your own happiness. Actively cultivate things that bring you joy and fulfillment without needing anyone else. What not to do? Make him your only or main provider of happiness. That is too much pressure for him, and it leaves you in a position of absolute dependency. Key number 4. The art of letting him invest. Remember the principle of justification of effort. We value what we work for. If you do everything, plan the dates, start every conversation, solve all the problems, you are robbing him of the opportunity to invest in you, and therefore, to value you. What to do? Take a step back. Let him take initiative. Let him plan, pursue, make an effort, learn to receive. What not to do? Assume the role of director of the relationship, controlling and organizing everything out of fear that if you don't do it, nothing will happen. Key number 5. The elegant number. No is the most powerful word in the vocabulary of self-respect. What to do? Learn to say no calmly, without giving 1,000 justifications. Thank you for the invitation, but I don't feel like it. Or, that day doesn't work for me. A no, said at the right time, is a declaration that your wants and needs matter. What not to do? Say yes to everything out of fear of disappointing him or of not being called again. Every yes you give when you wanted to say no takes a point away from your status. Key number 6. The veil of intelligent mystery. It's not about being secretive, but about not being an open book from page 1. The human brain is deeply attracted to incomplete patterns. It needs to know more. What to do? Reveal yourself in layers. Share your stories and vulnerabilities gradually as trust builds. Let him discover you little by little. What not to do? Tell him your entire romantic history, childhood traumas, and deepest insecurities on the first dates. That doesn't create intimacy. It creates premature emotional burden. Key number 7. The master investment, yourself. A luxury object is kept impeccable. It is cared for, polished, improved. What to do? Invest in yourself constantly. Read, learn a language, go to the gym, take care of your mental health, travel alone. Become a person who is increasingly interesting, above all, to yourself. What not to do? Abandon your personal growth the moment you start a relationship, as if you had already reached the finish line. Key number 8. Speak the language of abundance. Your language reveals your mindset. What to do? Communicate your desires from a place of confidence. Instead of saying, "Why do you never call me?" Try, "I love talking to you. Let's do it more often." You ask for what you want from security, not complaint. What not to do? Use the language of scarcity, complaints, reproaches, and constant nagging that only communicates need and dependency. Key number 9. Reject competition. And now the final key, the most important one. A Ferrari doesn't compare itself to a Ford. A diamond doesn't compete with glass. They are simply in different categories. Luxury exists in its own league. What to do? If a man explicitly or implicitly places you in competition for his affection, do not compete. Step away gracefully, without drama. What not to do? Try to prove that you're better than the other woman, criticize her, or play his game. The moment you accept competition, you've already lost. because you've accepted that your value is negotiable and comparable. And here comes the final contradiction, the twist that ties everything together. If you apply these 9 keys with the sole purpose of winning over one particular man, you will fail, because your motivation will still be external. The only way this works is if you do it for yourself and by yourself. The goal is not the man. The goal is the woman you become in the process. He is not the prize. You are. We've dismantled the engine of attraction, exposed the gears of desire, and I've handed you the 9 master keys to your own liberation. And although we've used the language of dating, him and her, it would be a mistake to think this is only about romantic relationships. That would be like looking at a treasure map and thinking it's only useful for finding one chest of gold, when in reality, it's teaching you how to navigate any ocean. Because this dichotomy, being luxury or being an option, is not confined to your love life. Look around, at your everyday reality. Where else are you acting like an option? At work, where you take on responsibilities that aren't yours without asking for a raise because you're afraid of being replaced. In that friendship, where they only call when they need a favor, but disappear when you need a shoulder to lean on. Even in your own family, where you may have become the problem solver, the one who always yields, who sacrifices her peace for everyone else's. The pattern is the same, the mechanism identical, and the root almost always comes down to one thing: a primal, paralyzing fear of loneliness. We accept crumbs because we're terrified of not having bread. We tolerate indifference because the silence of a phone feels more frightening than the anxiety of waiting for a reply that never comes. We put ourselves on sale because we think a bad deal is better than no deal at all. But here is the final reflection I want you to carry with you from this journey. True loneliness is not being alone in a room. The deepest, most painful loneliness is being in a room with someone and feeling invisible. It's the loneliness of silencing your own voice so you don't disturb, of shrinking your dreams so they'll fit inside someone else's life, of dimming your light so his can shine brighter. That is the real prison, being physically accompanied but existentially alone. Being a luxury, then, has nothing to do with arrogance, coldness, or materialism. It's not about building walls so no one can enter. It's about cultivating an inner garden so beautiful, so fertile, and so full of life that being there is a privilege. And then you open the door not out of need, but as a conscious act of generosity. You share your world not because you feel empty, but because you are so full you overflow. You stop being a candle desperately looking for a flame to ignite it, and you become the fireplace radiating warmth, the one others are drawn to for comfort. So, the next time you feel tempted to slip back into old patterns, don't think about him. Don't think about what he wants or needs. Think about that garden. Think about that fireplace. Think about you. The men who treated you as an option in the past were not villains. They were merely actors playing the role you, as the director of your own play, assigned to them. But the casting is over, and now, with a new script in hand, the real performance is about to begin. Here we are, at the end of our journey. Yes, we've explored the depths of male psychology. But more importantly, we've taken a far more terrifying and revealing journey, a journey into ourselves. We've placed a mirror before our fears. We've shone light into the dark corners of our insecurities. And we've unmasked the true saboteur of our happiness, who was never a man, but a badly written script we ourselves agreed to act out for years, maybe even decades. The question that haunted your nights was, why doesn't he choose me? You searched for answers in books, in friends, at the bottom of a wine glass. You tried changing your hair, your clothes, your personality. You played every role: the funny girl, the sexy girl, the smart girl, the understanding girl, all in a desperate attempt to be chosen, to be the winner of a prize you believed would bring you happiness. But after everything we've uncovered, perhaps the question was wrong from the very beginning. Perhaps it was never about why they don't choose you. Perhaps the only question that ever truly mattered was, why don't you choose yourself? Maybe the most important quest of your life is not to find the right man, but to become the right woman, for yourself. The woman who, when she looks in the mirror, doesn't need anyone else's admiration to know she is complete. The woman whose silence is not loneliness, but peace. The woman whose value does not rise and fall with unread messages or ignored calls. And so, the next time you find yourself at that crossroads, and you will, when you meet someone and feel that old urge to please, that old anxiety to be liked, that terror of saying the wrong thing, you will once again stand before the mirror. And in that moment of choice, when fear whispers in your ear that it's better to be a safe option than to risk being nothing, I leave you with this question, the only one that truly matters. What story, starting today, will you choose to tell yourself about yourself? Will you keep being the poster in the gift shop, waiting for someone to buy you so you feel like you belong in the world? Or will you claim your place at the center of the gallery, knowing without a single doubt that you are the work of art, and that your value was never, ever negotiable? Remember, luxury doesn't ask for permission. It simply is. If you're ready to stop chasing validation and start building your own non-negotiable worth, subscribe.